Hey everyone, it's George here, your music stand, and in this episode I'm going to be reviewing Future's new project, Beastmode 2. 9 songs on it. It was, I think it was kind of a surprise as well. He says he released it this Friday. It was released on his ex-wife, I believe's anniversary with Russell Wilson. I believe they were married. I'm not sure, but I believe they were married. His ex-wife's anniversary, and he says he delayed it a week because of Scorpion, but I doubt that, because he addresses his relationship with this girl multiple times throughout the album, as he has in past albums too. Talking about, he's over it, he's got all this money, all the girls, he doesn't need this relationship anymore. I think, personally, a guy that's still going on about it this long afterwards is not really over it. But that's just my opinion on that. I'm not going to review every song on this album because it's Future. If you can think of a Future song, that's how this album sounds. But I'm going to point out some songs that I liked, that I got something from, that I had an opinion on specifically. I'm also going to be talking about Drake. Future's been in the news in the past few days about some comments he's made over Twitter. So first off, I will talk about some of the songs that I really liked, or not really liked, but got something from, thought were a little different. First of all, it's pretty much all the same. It's nothing new. Future has a sound, he sticks with that sound, he has a formula, and if that works for him, it works for him, I guess. I don't necessarily prefer it in the artists I like. I specifically do like Future's sound, but I do prefer artists that switch it up. I don't think that this is, just because I like the sound of Future, I think all of his albums are good. I think maybe the first time he tried that sound and it worked, that was good, but I mean, just continuing it on with the same sound doesn't make you a good artist by any means, and it doesn't make an album good, even if the sound is good. I think artists should switch up their sounds, definitely from album to album, from project to project. But some of the songs that stuck out in this album, first of all, I just want to say he didn't really have any club songs, I don't feel like, in this album, which is something new, I think. You can remix anything to make it a club song, to be honest, so I don't really know. But I don't think he really had any club songs in this album, any hype songs, any dance songs in this album. It was more substantive than I think Future usually is. In that case, so some of the songs that stuck out to me, Rax Blue, just because it kind of switched up the mood. It was a little different from what Future has sounded like. It definitely was still Future, but it was a little switch up, and I like that. It kind of just switched it up. Another song I like, I think that Young Scooter's verse and Dodo, I liked that as well. A nice little switch up. I'm glad he had it more than just himself, because quite frankly, this album, it did get boring, and it was nice to have that little switch up there near the end. When I Think About It, I think is another good song. This song is, I think, obviously referring to his ex-wife. And he's thinking about why he's over it, all the things he has, and that's why he's over it, all the materialistic things he has, and that's why he's over it. Again, I think that a guy who keeps talking about it this long after is probably not actually over it, if we're being honest. Hate the Real Me, I think, was a very deep insight into Future's mind for Future. He talks about, I don't know how to say it, like just because he has all these things doesn't mean he loves himself, I guess. And that's kind of an insight into the rest of the album, because he talks about how he's over this relationship because of all the things he has, and then the last song he's like, never mind. It was just a little different. I think it's inconsistent. I don't know why he put that in there. Maybe to show that, maybe it's like saying that, like, all this stuff on the outside I want to say, and on the outside it makes it seem like I'm over this, but I'm really not. And maybe that's what that song is saying. But overall, I think it was solid. It's Future sound. I personally like Future sound. That doesn't mean I think it's a good album just because he kept with the same formula. I feel like Future could release thousands of songs that are exactly like most of the songs on here, and I would still listen to it, and everyone else would still listen to him, because I like that sound. So he's gotten a formula. It's the same with the Migos. They've got that formula. And so I would probably give this album a 4 out of 5, 4 out of 10, I mean, just because it's the same. I personally like that sound, so that's why I'm giving it even a 4. But it's the same as his sound has been in the past. He hasn't really flipped it up. He didn't say anything really that substantive in this album that was different than anything else he had ever said. So so now I'm going to talk about how he's been in the news the past couple of days. Basically, he said on Twitter that this new wave of trap is because of him. He didn't necessarily invent trap music, but he kind of made it mainstream. And I would tend to agree with him on that part. I mean, I'm trying to think back, and he's one of the main artists that was early in the trap scene. Him and pretty much the Migos are the two that are still big now that I can think of, that were kind of big in bringing up the trap sound. So I think he's pretty right in that. Now, what he's saying that the younger artists that are riding that wave, I guess, the Lil Pumps, the Tekashis, all those, I think that might be going a little far, because, I mean, they do have their own sound. There's a reason people like them. I don't particularly like them, but there's a reason people like them. They have their own sound. It is trap music, no doubt, but they have their own sound. And Tekashi is definitely different than Future. Future's more laid back. Tekashi's more jumping up, all that. And they all have their own sound. So I don't know if they should thank him. I mean, to the point where they have the ability to be as popular as they are, maybe. But I don't think they should thank him, because they all have their own sound. There's a reason they're big. That reason may not appeal to you, and it may be like, why are they big? And I would probably tend to agree with that. But there's a reason they're big, because they all have their own sound. There are none that sound exactly alike. If you really go into the depths of not the underground, but rappers that are trying to make it out, most of them that haven't made it out is because they sound like each other. They all sound the same. That's the reason Lil Uzi got big, really, because he kind of sounded like a regular Philadelphia rapper, and then he changed his sound and he got big because he changed his sound. And you may not like that sound, but it's different, and that's why people like it, because it's different. It was something different to listen to. That's why people like it, really. So I don't know about that, but he's right on the fact that he kind of made the trap sound big, and it's probably going to fall off here in a couple years. I don't expect it to stick around very long, as all waves do. It's going to fall off, and I think artists maybe like Future and like the Migos maybe will be able to adjust, the bigger ones that are a bit more creative than the small ones, but people like Lil Pump, Tekashi, trying to think of more, Smoke Perp. I mean, all those, SoundCloud rappers that came up, they're going to fall off, I think. Lil Uzi may be able to adjust, because he has had a previous sound that may potentially, if he goes back to that, will have some staying power. But I don't think his current sound will have staying power. But that's all for me today. Thanks for listening. That was my review of Future's new 9-track album, I believe. Yep, 9 tracks, Beastmode 2. Thanks for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow.